Hi, and welcome back to the Self-Actualization in the Age of Crisis Chapter Summary Series. I'm your host, Ron Rivers, and today we're reviewing Chapter 2, Modern Shamanism High Ritual. So let's start off with a little disclaimer. Nothing I'm going to talk about today is medical advice. Many of the stories, many of the examples I give are both from my personal experience and the experience of others that have documented their experiences. And there are a lot of similarities, which is a pretty fascinating concept. But with that said, the high-dose psychedelic experience is one of the most transcendent, transformative human experiences that the individual can inhabit within a lifetime. It is like something that has no frame of reference within the standard human time experience. That is to say that our standard perceptions cannot perceive it. And no amount of meditation, no amount of fasting, no amount of various ritual can truly encompass what is the ego dissolving psychedelic experience. Now, many people kind of approach psychedelics from many different directions. I personally believe that they are not a tool for recreation. That means like I'm not doing them at parties, right, with a bunch of people around. That I actually think that would be pretty terrible. They're also I'm not I do not practice microdosing. But with that said, I don't have any personal experience, and I haven't really read too much about it. From the perspective of high ritual, psilocybin mushrooms, the high dose psychedelic experience, should be done at high intensity or not at all. The approach and the approach to doing it is to kind of commune with the collective intelligence that it unlocks, right? And with that said, there are kind of many things about the psychedelic experience that I really want to emphasize. The first is that it is a journey not at all within the direction of your choosing. The mushroom takes you where you want or maybe need to go. And it forces you to confront things that are maybe in your past, in your present. It may reveal information to you. It may bring you to places that maybe you don't want to go, but maybe are necessary for your well-being over time. And it really, I mentioned over time, although the experience can last from anywhere from like 6 to 8 hours. It is really a long-term experience in that it stays with you. I have vivid memories of all of the high-dose psychedelic experience journeys I've had, all of the lessons I've learned, and they have really kind of matured over time. Who should kind of imbibe in the high ritual experience? That's really ultimately up to the individual. It could purely be curiosity. It could be the need to kind of overcome a major conflict. It could be, as I have used them in the past, right? I noticed through my practice of meditation and small ritual that my actions were slowly kind of creeping towards out of alignment with my my values that I wanted to purport. And while I noticed it, I wasn't able to kind of make the corrections I should have been. So the mushroom gave me a very profound realization in that moment. So what I share with you, I think, is what many of the initiated will share, which is that should the opportunity be provided to you, and of course now that we're doing it under medical supervision, it's even better. The high dose psychedelic experience is something that I believe every individual should undergo because it gives you a frame of reality that is otherwise unavailable. It is real. It happens. It happens within the time experience. It seems to be bound to the single truth in that it changes. But what it is, what you're communicating with, and I say communicating, there's a very clear communication. It's almost psychic, telepathic. It's as if these beings, whatever is speaking to you, can communicate simultaneously through word and material reality. So if you imagine like it wants to say something and it becomes it and you become it, you're surrounded by it. It is entirely perception defining. I talk in the book at some extent about preparation, ingestion, and having a guide. I'm not going to kind of go over that today, but I do want to emphasize that should you be curious, there are ways to kind of find it and grow. It is illegal in many states, but also recognize that if you have any history of mental illness, you really should do it with medical supervision. I personally know an individual who, through their experience, they were very young, but they had, I guess, tendencies of psychosis, and it essentially they had a bad trip and it led them to be schizophrenic. So there are risks, and I want to really emphasize that. It's not without risks. I also want to emphasize briefly before I conclude that psychedelic mushrooms might have a bad rap given our current kind of dominion culture and the war on drugs, but you have to understand psychedelics have been an experience of humanity and I mean anatomically modern humanity and our ancestors, our hominid ancestors, for millions of years. So the idea that it's not part of us is insane. It's been a deep part of us for a very, very long time. It is as much us as we are it in its connection, right? Its availability through Earth, its commonality being a key kind of component. And long term, when we talk about self-actualization in the age of crisis and SpiritDAO, right, our community organization to serve it, we hope to be able to facilitate both the growth and the distribution of the service to our formal members. In that, we bind the mushroom to our spiritual practice and recognize it as a spiritual right for all practitioners of self-actualization in the age of crisis.